Hello and welcome to Saints Live. I'm Steve Forbes.
I'm Kenzie Benali.
And we're at St Mary's as Southampton welcome Aston Villa here tonight in the Premier League. Now the Villains are just above the Saints in the table, but both sides are neck and neck on points with 29 each. Now tonight we'll be bringing you the team news as soon as we get it. We'll also be looking at a previous fixture between the two sides and we'll be getting our guest thoughts on the transfer window. And do make sure to get your comments in via the social channels as well. Now joining us tonight we have Dean Hammond and Joe Prince. Right now Joe, this is your first Saints Live of 2021. How has your new year been so far?
Been really good, mate. Really busy, as I know we all have been. But yeah, it's good to kick off the new year with you guys again, and hopefully with a win for Saints tonight.
Great stuff. And Dean, it feels like we speak all the time, so I'm running out of things to say to you.
It's lovely to speak to you again, mate. As well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant to have you both along with us again for Saints Live. Let's jump straight into it then, shall we? Because team news is coming your way in less than 15 minutes' time. Plenty of positives, actually. Brian Bertrand is, of course, back from suspension. Oriol, Romeu and Gjenepo are also back from injury today, which is fantastic. And Nathan Redmond, a possibility to start today. Carl Walker-Peters, though, is still out, as is Yannick Vestergaard, Mohamed Salisu, Will Smallbone and Nathan Teller. But Dean, it's nice to have a few options. How do you expect Saints to line up this evening?
Yeah, it's an interesting one for the manager. He's got more options, more of a selection headache, which is great for the manager. They always want them decisions. It's been tough lately. I mean, the core of the team has kind of been taken out. You know, with Vestergaard coming out, Oriol coming out, Danny Ings has been in and out, McCarthy missed a couple of games. So to have some of them players back will be brilliant. I think there will be some changes tonight. I think the right back position will be interesting to see who plays right back. The central midfield will be interesting again, what the partnership is in there. I don't think the formation will change at all. I think the consistency the manager showed will continue that. And the front four, I think, will stay the same. I mean, Stuart Armstrong against Arsenal was fantastic. I thought that was his best performance of the season. He was really, really influential, played a great game. Danny Ings is getting more fitness. Him and the partnership between him and Shea is excellent. So, yeah, I think the full-back position at right-back will be interesting to see what the manager does there. Whether he'll bring Diallo, I think he might play Diallo right-back and bring Oriol back into the centre midfield. I was thinking, would he put James Ward-Prowse at right-back potentially? But I think he'll put Diallo there after his performance at left-back for the last 20 minutes against Arsenal. I think he's just that little bit quicker than James Ward-Prowse. He's got a bit of a better engine to get up and down, a little bit like Walker-Peters. So it'll be interesting, and we'll see what the manager does.
All right, so Joe, Dean expects there to be some changes tonight. Do you think Ralph will tweak the team that lost to Arsenal on Tuesday?
I think so, and I think maybe this is a time where you could freshen things up now that Saints do have those options. Maybe, I do agree with Dean that the front four have been brilliant, but for me it may be a time and the correct time to say to Theo Walcott, he's maybe looked a little bit jaded in recent weeks. It might be a good time to move him out of the team, start Redmond or maybe even Gjenepo, and maybe just a chance to mix things up a little bit, because I did think it got a bit stale in the attacking areas of the pitch. But Armstrong was great. I think Danny and Shea need to keep that partnership going up top now. Danny is back fit, and I'm really interested about the right back situation as well. We all expect Ryan Bertrand to come back in after his suspension is over, and yeah, I didn't really think about Diallo at right back, but that's actually a really good spot, because I think then you have Romeu and Ward-Prowse, of course, back together in the heart of midfield, and they were so good early in the season. But Diallo's been brilliant. So the fact that he can slot in anywhere gives Saints a lot of options. And I do expect there to be quite a few changes tonight.
Well, yes, we will find out what Ralph is doing in just over 10 minutes' time now. So stay tuned for that. And, of course, let us know in the comments who you'd like to start this evening against Aston Villa. But it is time now to take a look at what Ralph had to say about Oriol Romeu. He is, of course, back in contention this evening. Here's what the boss had to say about the midfielder.
He made a sensational development since summer. I call him sometimes a diesel because it needs a little bit longer to come in the right move, but he changed his physically strength in the summer also, lost a little weight, and he's maybe in the best shape he has ever been in his entire life, and yeah, because I think he felt that for the Premier League he has to adapt his game, and he has to be quicker, and he has to develop his game, and he did. And I'm very happy to have him here.
Is he a born competitor in that midfield? And is he competitive with everything he does? I understand you've taken him on the tennis court, haven't you?
Yeah. He had no chance against me. But I think he was a little bit nervous and let me win, because it's always good when you let the manager win,
So that was what Ralph had to say about Oriol. But Dean, I suppose the question on everyone's lips is, did you ever play a tennis match against any of your managers, or even any other sport for that matter? I mean, Nigel looks like the type that would be partial to a bit of darts or lawn bowls.
Do you know what? I'm going to surprise you. Yes, I did. When we went away to Switzerland on a pre-season tour with Southampton, actually, when Alan Pardew was manager, we was away for 10 days, I think. And we had a mini Olympics, so we played different sports and different things to keep the players entertained. And I had a game against Alan. I think I surprised him with how good I was. Pretty handy at tennis, to be honest. When I was younger, I played against Dean Wilkins as well when I was at Brighton. But on both occasions, I kind of had to let them win. To be honest, you can't be beating the manager. I don't want to be dropped from the team because I've won a tennis match. That wouldn't be too good for my career. But no, I was pretty handy at tennis when I was younger. Me and my cousin actually got to the final of the under-12 doubles at Devonshire Park, which is the pre-warm-up tour for Wimbledon. We lost, unfortunately, but yeah, I was okay at tennis, to be honest.
If football didn't work out for you, there could have been another career path there.
I don't know that. Maybe a ball boy. I've been quite good at that. I don't think I'd have made a career out of it.
Oh, wow. Man of many talents, Dean. Well, let's move on then to talk about the man in question, Oriol Romeu. Joe, you were on the show last on Boxing Day when Ibrahima Diallo made his debut, first start against Fulham, rather. Now, we spoke then about how difficult it would be for him to kind of overtake Oriol in that pecking order, but he's performed incredibly well. So how do you assess that competition for that spot now?
I think Romeu's just ahead, but only just. And I didn't think I'd be saying that after the first, half of the season he had. It had to take something special from Diallo to come in and make it a conversation about who would start in that position. But he has been really good. His versatility, like Dean said, is really interesting to me now about slotting in at fullback. And it's almost now, if Romeu comes back in, as we expect, you have to find a spot for Diallo in the team because he's been that good and he's been such a big impact, no matter where he's played on the pitch. I mean, we saw so many instances of him, his recovery runs, his reading of the game, how quick he is. He does fill those gaps when Saints' fullbacks push forward, which they do a lot if we're playing well. So to me, I don't want to big him up too much, but he does seem very N'Golo Kante-esque the way he's playing at the moment in terms of those little gaps that he's plugging. And yeah, it's a tough decision for Ralph, but again, a good one because he hasn't had a lot of options to change it around. But Romeu's just ahead, and Diallo, you got to put him into the team somehow. So I'm excited to see them both play together one day. That could potentially be something that would happen, and that would be an extremely destructive central midfield duo.
Yeah, well, you heard it here first on Saints Live. Joe Prince Wright thinks that Diallo is the next N'Golo Kante. What an exclusive. Dean, you said that he could slot in at fullback, but could you see Diallo and Romeu playing in the same team together in the middle, or are they just too similar in terms of quality?
No, I think they actually could play together. I think they would complement each other because I think the example we've had is Oriol and Højbjerg last season didn't particularly bond too well together, but I think there's a difference. They were both very experienced players. They both wanted to do the same role. So there was kind of a bit of competition between them. I think Diallo is very impressionable. He can learn off Oriol. He will take instructions. And also, with that pace he's got, he can break the lines as a midfield player. He can run with the ball, so he can make really, really good ground, which is something the other midfield players can't do. So no, I think they could play together. It would be a very protective back four, a very solid midfield, very disciplined midfield. But I think Diallo, as he progresses through his career, as he gets older, as he learns, I think he could bring them attacking qualities to the game, which means they could complement each other. It was a little bit like me and Jack Cork, really, very similar players. I think when I played with Morgan Sliding or Corky played with Morgan, we were different players, but me and Corky were very similar, but we could play together. I think you just have to adapt. And when you've got a more experienced player and a younger player, you kind of bounce off each other, and the younger player kind of takes the instructions, and the more experienced player takes the lead. So, yeah, I think these two could play together.
Well, not only have Southampton been boosted by the return of Oriol Romeu, Ryan Bertrand is, of course, back from suspension. Joe, how much will his experience lift the side this evening?
Yeah, it will do. I think, you kind of look at the fullback areas, and that's been a bit of a problem with these injuries over the last few weeks. As I mentioned before, the fullbacks is so key to the way Saints play, to give them extra width, and that allows Armstrong and Walcott to tuck in a bit closer inside and vacate those wide areas. So, yeah, I mean, Bertrand and Walker-Peters has been brilliant all season. And sometimes when I think of Ryan Bertrand, I say this in the nicest way possible, but I forget he's on the pitch. I'm just like, oh, he's playing today. And sometimes that's not a bad quality to have as a defender. You don't want to be, at the centre of attention. You just want to be solid, reliable, do your job. And he's got quality in the final third. We all know about that. Crossing ability, passes, can pick the right ball down the line. He's maybe lost a bit of his dynamism over the years, like bombing up and down the left flank, but he still does that at times. So, yeah, I've been a big fan of Ryan Bertrand's over the years. Got to interview him many times. He's a lovely bloke and, loves the club dearly. You can tell that. And I'm now intrigued to see if he does stick with Saints long term. I know there's a lot of talk about a new contract and that situation, but I hope he does, because, he's the kind of player, the way he plays now, he could easily play for another 4 or 5 seasons in the Premier League, no bother at all.
As we said at the top of the show, another player coming back is Moussa Gjenepo. Dean, how important is it for Southampton that he stays fit now, given how many little injury problems that he's had?
Yeah, really important, I think, because he is different. He's something different compared to the other wingers, the other attacking players, the other creative players. He's got that spark. He's got that little bit of magic. I think he can be frustrating at times, obviously, but he's a young player, so he's learning. So he needs to get a consistent run in the team. And the manager it seems as though the manager trusts him. The manager really likes him, because when he's fit, he gets that opportunity. He's been unfortunate with the injuries, but hopefully that's something that he can work with the sports scientist, the fitness coach, to improve the condition of his body. And, once he's back fit and once he's playing, I'd love to see him have a run in the game. And I'd love to see him express himself a little bit more, take a few more risks, because I could imagine what he's like in training. I imagine he's a nightmare if he's taking 2, 3, 4 players on, trying to score here and there. So, he needs to stay injury-free for a consistent period, because the manager seems to like him, and that's a good thing as a player, because it gives you confidence.
Just on that, Dean, when you do come back from injuries or having so many, does it affect how you play, because you're so desperate not to pick up another one?
I think it affects your conditioning. No matter how hard you train, no matter how much training you do, it can never replicate that being in a match situation. It really can't. So you need 1, 2 matches to kind of get into your rhythm. But it does play on your mind, because you're always thinking, can I go 100%? Can I sprint? Can I go in for a tackle? I don't want to pick another injury up. So until you're back into the flow, until you're feeling natural again, it does take a little bit of time. But I think when you're young, you're innocent and you don't think of things like that. You just want to play football. And I think that's what Gjenepo's got. He has got that magic, that bright spark. And the players like him, you want to see him play with freedom. You want to see him trying things and doing something different. And yes, it's not always going to come off, but sometimes when he does it, it will do that a magical flick that puts a player through, or take 2 or 3 players on and score a goal. But it can play on your mind, Steve, yeah.
Okay, well, we will be bringing you the team news in just over 30 seconds' time. Just enough time to get a few comments in, though. Daniel is joining us all the way from Canada. He's in Toronto. Wow, thank you for your company. We've also got a comment here from Robbie. He's in Normandy. Hello to you from Southampton. A comment here from Toby. He's watching along on Facebook. He says, love the show. Thanks to you all. Sending best thoughts from snowy Chicago. We're sending lots of love here from Southampton as well. Well, right, it is time now to bring you the team news, the team that will face Aston Villa in the Premier League this evening. And Dean, it looks like you got it spot on. This is a team we're seeing now with both Oriol Romeu and Ibrahima Diallo. So obviously we've got Alex McCarthy in goal, and it looks like Ibrahima Diallo will be in that full-back role, also making up the back four, Jan Bednarek, Jack Stevens and the returning Ryan Bertrand. In midfield is our captain, James Ward-Prowse, who of course claimed another assist last time out. Alongside him is Oriol Romeu. Great to see him back in the side. Nathan Redmond makes his first start since October. Also out wide, Stuart Armstrong, and then leading the line for Southampton is Danny Ings and Theo Walcott by the looks of things. So the Saints substitutes then: Fraser Forster, Kane Ramsey, Jan Valery, Caleb Watts, Alec Jankovic, Musa Gjenepo, Shea Adams, Shane Long and Dan and Lundaloo. So Dean, let's come to you first then. Got your wishes. We are seeing a Saints side this evening with both Oriol and Ibrahima Diallo. How pleased are you to see that?
Well, maybe I'll make a coach or manager yet. You never know. No, I think it's a very, very strong team. A good decision by the manager to bring that experience back into the team always matters. Interesting to see Theo Walcott playing up front with Danny Ings. That's a combination that I think could potentially work. But they're very similar roles. But Theo, he's been performing very, very well. Joe mentioned, he's looked a little bit tired lately, but playing more centrally may help him. And Diallo playing at fullback, I think when he came on, he went into that position at left back against Arsenal. He did very, very well. He was an attacking threat. He looked comfortable on the ball. So it's a strong team. And Nathan Redmond coming back in the team, he's a good player, Nathan, and I like watching him play. Very, very natural on the ball, dribbles with the ball. And you need them players in your team. Someone who can get on the ball and take players on him and move you up the pitch when you're under pressure. So, yeah, an exciting team. So looking forward to seeing them play tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like there's so much to talk about in this team. But Joe, just how excited are you about this starting 11?
I'm very excited. Like I said before, Theo obviously looked a little bit tired, but I think it will really suit him playing up top with Danny. Shea Adams has looked a little bit lacking in confidence in recent weeks, so maybe just to take him out of the firing line a little bit and give him a bit of a break. But Nathan Redmond is a very good player. I think gives Saints something a bit different in attack. And, watching Ralph's pre-match press conference, he seems fairly happy with the way the team's playing. I think it's only one win in the last 7. That's correct. But it doesn't really feel like there's a slump. It feels like there's a lot of positivity still around this Southampton team. But I do think they need a bit of extra zip in attack and a little bit of, someone who can drop their shoulder and beat a man. And I think that Redmond definitely brings that. It's great to see him back. It'll just give Saints a few different options that they haven't had in recent weeks. And I think Aston Villa now looking at that team sheet, they probably would have been expecting to see Shea Adams starting, Walcott out wide. So they have to adjust themselves a little bit about what they've been preparing for. So good to see Saints have a lot of attacking options. And I love the fact that Diallo's starting at right back. Again, shows his versatility. And I think he's been really, really important to Saints in recent weeks.
Great stuff. Well, we will be delving into more topics on tonight's game later on the show, but first it's rewind the clock time, and we're going back to May 2015, where Aston Villa visited St Mary's in good form with just one defeat in their last 6 games. Here's what happened.
Kick off here for the final time in the 2014-15 season. Benteke slipped away to get in one-on-one there, Adam. Yeah. Mane might take advantage here. He's not caught. He's still on his feet in the box. Given half a save. Mane with the follow-up. What is shown there, but that's the threat Southampton have when Mane gets himself into that position. Well, the Saints attacking again. Gibbons missed another one. Mane! Lovely 1-2 down the left-hand side, and Shane Long's away in behind the defence. Edge of the counter, squares it. Mane for a hat-trick! That's an unbelievable hat-trick to Sadio Mane! Mane comes infield, threads the ball, look at the Pella, in behind, Gibbons makes the save, Long with the follow-up! Southampton are 4-0 up! A nice 1-2 actually, Shane Long got put away, was it Stephen Davis who put him away?
I thought Long did well.
Now Long's got another chance from distance! Oh, what a goal that is! Outside him is Bakuna on the overlap. Bakuna right-footed, cross to Benteke, free header, and Villa have got one back before half-time. Lowton approaching him. Mane looks up. Juricic making a little run. Mane checks, 20 yards out, gets a 1-2, then a low ball in. Keller with the volley. What a goal that is! That is it. The final whistle of the Premier League season at St Mary's Stadium. A 6-1 thumping of Aston Villa. The fastest hat-trick in Premier League history.
Well, an absolute goal fest from May 2015. And Joe, the fastest Premier League hat-trick in history from Sadio Mane. What a moment. Have you got any memories from that game?
I do, actually. I was very specific memory. I was travelling up to Liverpool for work in my role at NBC Sports. And I just got to Liverpool. I was in the hotel, had the game on, and I was shouting very loudly when that happened. And I just couldn't even believe. I was like, is this real life? No one else was with me watching the game. And yeah, it was incredible. I think that was Steven Gerrard's last home game for Liverpool. And I'm going to say that Mane's hat-trick definitely overshadowed that moment. It's maybe just for me, but it seemed that was obviously the story of the day and pretty much the story of the season for Saints. But yeah, it was just one of those days, right, when everything Saints hit went in. Shane Long's curler, I mean, capped off a great season under Ronald Koeman there. And I just think back fondly to that team. And that's one of the first games and first moments I think about when I think of that attacking lineup with Tadic, Pella and Mane. That was a real demolition job. And Saints obviously did that to a lot of teams around that time with the big win against Sunderland. And, you know, it would seem like most games they would score 3 or 4 goals in that couple of season stretch. So, yeah, fond memories for Mane. And I don't think that record's ever going to be beaten, is it?
No, I don't think so. Certainly very special. And Dean, Joe just said there how that Sadio Mane hat-trick was kind of the talk of the day and grabbing all the headlines. And that somewhat overshadowed actually what a fantastic performance it was from Shane Long. He bagged a couple of goals as well, of course. The second one was particularly impressive and just epitomises his work rate, really.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, on the day, 2 assists, I think, and 2 goals. And his second goal was absolutely world-class. But his work rate, you know, I think it was for Mane's second goal where he's closed the keeper down. He's anticipated a ball back to the goalkeeper. He's got that quick turn of pace, really, really brave to set Mane's first goal up. His goal, really composed finish on the first one, you know, had lots of time to think about it and just slotted into the goal. And then his second goal, not just to finish, but his work rate to win the ball back, to become on the blind side of the midfield player, to read his pass, to intercept the ball, and then curl it in for 30 yards. But that is a big part of Shane's game, you know, running in behind, really, really quick, really, really fit, aggressive in what he does, and a real team player. So, you know, he's had a brilliant career. And I still feel as though he's got a lot to offer at the football club. You know, he might not be playing week in and week out. He might not be starting games. But I'm sure he has a big influence on the younger players. I'm sure he speaks to Shay Adams a lot, you know, very similar roles they can play, and he'll teach him a lot. And having experienced players in the dressing room and around the group is fantastic. And I think that is Shane's role now. And he'll still play a role on the pitch because he can still be effective. I think when he played against Fulham, he performed pretty well and had a goal disallowed. But yeah, his work rate is one of the biggest parts of his game. And that's missed, you know, as you go on later in your career, it kind of diminishes a little bit, but he was brilliant on that day.
Yeah, well, Shane has scored 7 goals against Aston Villa, including in this fixture last year. Joe, Dean talked about his work rate, but what is it about Shane's game that impresses you the most? Yeah,
I was at that game at St Mary's last year when he scored, actually, and that was a big relief because that was a big win on that occasion. I just think he's so unselfish. Whoever he's playing up top with, they love playing with him. Danny last season, you know, he just seems to bring out the best in the other players around him. He stretches defenders, which gives the other striker a lot of space. And like Dean said, I think he's a model professional. Everyone always says that about Shane. He's going to be working with a lot of young players at Southampton, and it's kind of a fine balancing act, right, for Ralph, where you got a lot of good, promising young players coming through, but you need to have an experienced core to just, you know, help them progress, help them get to the next level. And that's something you can't really measure in terms of goals or assists sometimes. It's just those little things during the week that he's probably putting others before himself. And that shows in the team that it's kind of been tough for him to get in this season. You know, he's maybe looked a little bit rusty when he has come off the bench at times because he isn't playing as often. But you know he's going to run himself into the ground. Dean mentioned that. He just is a willing runner, really good in the air. It would be nice to see him score if he came off the bench and keep that great record against Aston Villa going, because I think that would give him a lot of confidence.
Yeah, that would be pretty special, wouldn't it? Shane Long off the bench to score. I like that. Well, let's take a look at your predictions at home then. Plenty of you feeling really positive about this starting 11. Lots of you excited by it for sure. Rob J said, nice lineup. Diallo at right back is a nice fit. It certainly is. Sean, hello to you. He says, this is an exciting team. We should have some flair tonight. Come on, my Saints. Stephen, thanks for this one. He says, strong lineup. Speed will be the key tonight. Peter said, Redders, Stu, Theo, all good at carrying the ball forward. Ryan, good evening. He's commented here, a great team. We should have enough to beat Villa. Come on, you Reds. And one here from Sabimana. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Watching all the way from Rwanda. Thank you so much for your company. So plenty to be excited about this evening. So do keep those comments coming in. Tell us what you think of that super exciting starting 11, and we'll do our best to read as many of those out throughout the show.
Yeah, definitely. And there has been some changes to the squad tonight, but will there be any additions? Well, we're going to talk about the January transfer window now, which shuts in just over 48 hours' time. Ralph has said that he may do some business before Monday's deadline. We did find out today that Jake Vokens has gone to Sunderland on loan. Dean, how do you assess Southampton's squad with the transfer window closing so soon?
Well, I think the manager will always be looking to make additions. Every manager does that to try and improve your squad. It's not only bringing players in that can help improve the team, but it will improve the players around them as well, you know, the extra competition. I don't think the manager will do too much, if I'm honest. I think the full-back area, especially left-back, needs some cover. I think he'll be looking to bring a player in there for competition for Ryan. I think potentially the right-back position, again, needs some cover. So the full-back position, just identified against Arsenal how important the full-backs are for Southampton, not only defensively, but attacking-wise as well. And then I was looking at the squad thinking, could the club bring a striker in to add some more goals? Could we bring a centre-half in? But I think the issue is, if we have everyone fit, the squad really doesn't need too much more. There is competition within the group. There's a lot of quality within the group. And the players, you've got to remember, Southampton playing a certain style and quite a unique style. So any player coming in, it's going to take them a little bit of time to settle and get used to how Southampton play. So January might not be the appropriate time to bring some players in. But if you use an example, Walker Peters coming in last year and then him getting into the team later on in the season was fantastic. So maybe a couple of younger players with huge potential that could come in on loan. And then if they do well, the club could buy them like they did last season. So I think that will be the format. I don't think there'll be huge changes, but maybe the fullback area, they would just look for some cover or some impact off the bench if suspensions and injuries happened again.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to seeing what happens, if anything at all, of course. Joe, in previous seasons, Southampton probably have felt it a little bit necessary to get business done in the January transfer window while struggling at the foot of the table. But given the financial pressures on all football clubs at the moment, is it a good thing that there isn't really any pressure on Southampton to do anything drastic this window?
Yeah, it's a very good thing. I think, it allows you to add to your squad because you want to, not because you have to. And I think sometimes you're rushed into deals if you're in that situation and just trying to get new players in for the sake of it almost. But yeah, I really like this model of recruitment. Like Dean mentioned there about, Walker Peters coming in. He's a perfect example of working closely with him, bedding him into the style of play. And we've all seen how good he was over the summer. And then this season so far, he's been probably Saints' standout player, I would say, of the season so far. But I am looking at sort of that, fullback area, someone like Brandon Williams, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, players who can fill multiple positions down the flanks. And that works well for me. I think you're not spending a lot of money, maybe bringing on those players in on loan and looking at those top 6 clubs and players who aren't quite good enough to get into their starting lineup, but will come to Saints, be hungry to kick on their career. And we know that Ralph loves working with younger players, and that's really a good fit, I think, for this squad because, again, Dean mentioned it too, you can't keep a huge squad of players happy. So it's good to have 15, 16 experienced players and then another 10 like younger players who either come through the academy or on loan and want to make their way in the game. And I think that's a really good balance to the Saints squad, even though it has been stretched to its limits in recent weeks. And I know that, you know, fans out there and managers probably as well want to spend loads of money and bring in big name players. But the way Saints play and the way they're building for the future, I really like this recruitment policy. It's smart, it's savvy. Yeah, and I hope they do get a couple of more players in before the end of the window, which is 48 hours from now. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we did expect it to be a quieter transfer window than normal given the global situation. Dean, are you concerned about how quiet it's been across the whole Premier League? No one's really been spending any money.
I don't think I'm hugely surprised. A little bit surprised. I thought there may be potentially some more business, but not too much. I was looking at it, and I think almost half of the Premier League have done no business at all as of yet, which is strange. But obviously, in the current climate, with the conditions of everything, I don't know if there's restrictions on transfer in terms of travelling, in terms of isolation. I don't know how that will work. I don't know. Clubs obviously are being more cautious with their spending and their money. Clubs that potentially are trying to buy players, the club that have the players will probably want more money because they know they won't be able to get another player in. So I think it's more of a gamble in January, if I'm honest. No one knows what the future is going to hold. So a lot of clubs are being sensible, and it's probably about time that clubs have, just been a little bit cautious and not spending as much money and just seeing what the future holds. And what that will do, which is what we all cry out for all the time, if there is injuries, if there is suspensions, then clubs are going to have to use their academies. They're going to have to use their younger players. And that's how you get an opportunity in football. The door opens for you as a younger player. You get into the first team, you get a chance, and you take it with open arms. So, it's not as exciting like Joe says, on Sky Sports, when we've all got the last day and we're glued to the TV. I don't think that's really going to happen. I think it would be more the loan system, clubs borrowing players off players. I can't see many permanent deals happening. And I've got no problem with that. It's different, but it's about time probably clubs started to be a little bit more sensible financially.
Yeah, my missus hates deadline day because I take over the telly for the whole evening.
Yeah, you and me both. I think that's a lot of people glued to their tellies on deadline day. But just over 48 hours to go then. Lots can happen in that time. But before we focus on this evening's match then, let's take a look at socials one more time to take a look at what you guys are saying at home. And we've got a real plethora of predictions coming in. Derek's going for a huge 5-0 win to the Saints this evening. He's obviously feeling particularly confident after seeing that team. Christian, hello to you. He's going for a 3-1 win to the Saints tonight. He says, come on you Reds. Dale's watching along on Facebook. He says, I'd take another 4-3 win. Ryan, thanks for this one. He says, Saints 3-1 win tonight. Ings, James Ward-Prowse and Walcott to score. Another one then from Thomas. He's on YouTube. He says, Saints to win. But it is going to be a tough game. I can't quite bring myself to predict a score. Jamie, hello. He's going for a 2-0 win to the Saints. And a final one for now here from Michelle. She says, 3-2 to the Saints. Come on, you Reds. So lots of positive comments there from the Saints fans. Let's talk about tonight's game then, shall we? We are taking on Aston Villa, of course, in just over 40 minutes time now. But before we talk to Dean and Joe about that game, let's look at the reverse fixture back in November. Here are the highlights from our 4-3 win over Aston Villa.
You're listening to BBC Radio Solent. The players are out on the pitch, far from the goal line. On this right, Ward-Prowse does hit it with pace, and it's a thundering header from Yannick Vestergaard, who's done it again, and he met that, and it came off his head like a rocket. Ward-Prowse's right foot whips it past Martinez, and he does score on his birthday to go with his assist. And James Ward-Prowse has 2 in 2. It is Saints with 2 over the wall this time.
The goalkeeper
wall.
to the left.
He does curl it, and he does it again. 2 goals on his birthday. Perfect free kick from James Ward-Prowse. Armstrong, he's got a man in front to his right, he's got 2 to his left. Ings in just on the edge of the penalty, shoots! Oh, it's a thunderbolt! Right-footed, stunning finish from Danny Ings, who carries on his merry way. McGinn out on the left, Grealish now approaching the box, puts it in, Mings with the header, and he gets one back for Villa, and Saints have lost a clean sheet. Watkins up against McCarthy. Can he keep this one out, having done so many good saves in the second half? He can't, he goes the wrong way. Well placed into the corner by Ollie Watkins. Now, Ings, by the way, sat down in the dugout area, so he hasn't gone off for any treatment anywhere. As Grealish shoots from long range and scores. Did it deflect?
What a goal
Did it
that
do
is.
anything? Alex McCarthy hasn't moved. Now Darren England says that is it. The half finally finishes, the game is over, and even despite the late drama, Southampton have another win.
Well, a great performance by the Saints. They're up at Villa Park in November. Dean, did the scoreline maybe flatter Villa a little bit? What were your reflections of the game?
Yeah, I think it did, Steve, to be honest. I mean, being 4-0 up at half-time. 3-0 up at half-time, 4-0 up after an hour. Some great goals, really was. You know, James Ward-Prowse scoring 2 fantastic free kicks. Danny Ings checking back and scoring into the top corner. And Vestergaard scoring from a set piece. So the perfect hour, really, for Southampton. A defender scoring, a midfielder and a striker. Very, very dominant. Could have been more. And then, you know, that's what we like to see from Southampton, starting the game nice and bright, loads of energy and taking the opportunities they get. And we thought Aston Villa had been put to bed. You know, credit to Aston Villa, they came back and had a little bit of a push towards the end, but getting the 3 goals, I think it did flatter them. It was a dominant performance by Southampton. 4-0, being 4-0 up away from home is fantastic. You know, that's dreamland stuff. And it was during a spell of the season, the beginning of the season, when the team was playing particularly well, full of confidence. So, you know, a really, really good performance. And if that can be repeated tonight, that would be great, because the team that's out tonight, you know, they can replicate that. They can score some goals like that. They can play on the front foot. They can dominate Aston Villa. So, yeah, I think it did flatter Aston Villa just a little bit on the day.
Joe, Jack Grealish is the obvious threat from a Southampton point of view. If they can keep Jack Grealish quiet, can they keep Aston Villa quiet?
Yes and no. I mean, he's obviously a very good player and he's gone on to new heights this season. I think his goal involvements have already matched the whole of last season already. So he's had a great first half of the season. And he's integral to everything they do. His driving runs, cutting inside, linking midfield and attack. I mean, he seems to have found his best position now at Aston Villa, which is, dangerous for Saints. But even if they stop Grealish, then you have a lot of new players now. You have Bertrand Traore, Ross Barkley, Ollie Watkins. They're all new players that Villa have brought in for this season. So it shows you the resources they have, how many attacking talents they have now. So, I was actually a bit disappointed with Grealish at the start of last season. I thought when Villa came up, he would take the Premier League by storm. Obviously, it took him a while, I think, to get settled in. But the main thing I think that's brought the best out of him is that Villa have so many other great attacking talents around him now that he can bounce off of. He can, find Watkins with the balls in behind. He can link up with Ross Barkley. He can kind of float and drift around. And I think that's the real danger for Saints, whether he starts, centrally or out wide. He's one of these players, and Dean will have played against a lot of players like this just in front of the back four. He just keeps popping up in dangerous areas, out wide, centrally, and you can't quite track him. He's always on the last shoulder of that holding midfielder. And he was great in midweek as well. I watched in my role with NBC Sports the game against Burnley. Obviously, he scored, heavily involved in the goals, and I still don't know how Aston Villa lost that game, to be perfectly honest. They were all over Burnley, somehow lost, hit the bar, missed a load of chances. So it will be dangerous. They're attacking. Grealish leads all of that. But I do think the fact that he and Villa are very gung-ho in their approach and they're very attack-minded, that's going to be a good thing for this Southampton team, especially seeing the lineup Ralph's put out there tonight. Very attack-minded lineup for Saints. So I think it's going to be a lot of gaps for them to expose in that Villa defence.
Yeah, well, Grealish...
For me, since lockdown started last summer, you and Villa...
or admired his calf muscles every week. Anyway, both sides are level on 29 points.
You had to mention that, didn't you?
I did, always. I just, I'm so envious of his calf muscles. Dean, I'll have to come to you, mate, to just try and work mine up. They're so skinny.
No, you won't, mate. I haven't got calves either, so I don't know where he's got them from.
Anyway, Ralph was asked at his press conference about the similarities between both Aston Villa and Southampton.
For me, since lockdown started last summer, you and Villa are probably the two most improved sides in the Premier League. And interestingly, you've improved in similar ways. You both keep more clean sheets than you did before, a lot more. And you're both better with the ball and knowing what you're doing with it, and look more systematic, more of an identity. Certainly they've improved theirs. What do you like about them as a side?
yes, I can partly agree, but not in general, because I think the big difference was that they had a few fantastic signings in the summer, so with very expensive signings, I think. Yeah. And this, I think, is something we cannot compare with. But in general, yes. After being in the relegation battle last season, both showed that we had in the end then nothing to do with relegation, because we ended up in 11th position. They had, I think, they saved themselves on the last round or 2 rounds beforehand. But I think it's important, if you want to make the next step, that you improve your game with the ball, especially because this is always the key of stressing the opponent a little bit more, and also don't concede so many goals because you have the ball more. And I think it's, for us, absolutely necessary to go this path. Also, it was a little bit risky in the beginning, but now we get used to it. And even if in the last game we made a few mistakes and concede 1 goal, I think we will not stop working on this part of our game, and it is getting better and better. And now Ori maybe comes back, and a few other players are coming back. They have quality on the ball, so that should help us to climb again to this level where we have been this season once.
Dean, I think we can say that both sides have definitely improved in the last 12 months. But is there much of a difference between them both for you?
No, very similar, Steve. Obviously, both on 29 points, 10th and 11th in the league. And like Joe mentioned, playing a similar style, very attacking style, want to try and score goals, want to be an attacking threat. We've got very similar type players as well. You know, we talked about Grealish, Watkins, McGinn, Barkley. You know, they're very creative players that you can make an opportunity out of nothing. And Southampton have very similar players. So both very, very good teams, and probably both the surprise package of the season, really, apart from maybe West Ham, who are doing particularly well at the moment. But yeah, it should be a good game, really should be a good game. And where both teams will finish up, that will be interesting to see whether both teams can continue the progress they've made over the last 12 months, because it's been fantastic. They're both great teams to watch. And yeah, both got managers that are very forward-thinking managers, you know, progressive managers. And it looks like both sets of players enjoy playing for their clubs and for their managers. So very similar at the stages they're at, and it'd be interesting to see who finishes higher in the league.
Yeah, most definitely. Joe, like Dean's just said, lots of similarities. Both teams on 29 points, 10th versus 11th. If Southampton are to achieve a top half finish, is this a bit of a must-win game?
I think it is, absolutely, because it's great to beat Liverpool and get results against some of those top 6 teams. But I think the success of Saints under, Koeman and Pochettino in the past, it was about taking care of business against the teams that you're expected to beat, the teams in the bottom half of the table. If you're winning home and away or getting 4 points a season off of all of those teams, that's how you rack up the points, and you're right on the edge of the European places. So, and Saints have largely done that this season. When you look at the results and the games they've actually lost, I think Crystal Palace is the only game they've lost to a team that's below them in the table right now. So they really have taken care of business against the likes of, West Brom, Newcastle, Sheffield United at home. Obviously, Villa are a bit of a step up, but I was at the Everton game earlier this season. I think it's a very similar kind of task. It's another team that's on the up, in a very good position, very settled lineup, Aston Villa, when you look through their 1 to 11. So I think this would set a very good tone for the second half of the season. I know we haven't quite played every team once yet. Ralph likes to point that out in his press conferences because we haven't faced Leeds. But, we have a good idea of where we are now. And I think Southampton, to kick on in the second half of the season, this would be a good launching pad, really. If they win and win handsomely against Aston Villa, then I think that sets them up to say, you know what, we can take care of business, and then we can go at some of these big 6 clubs that we've already taken points off earlier this season. So, yeah, a draw isn't a bad result, to be honest, but these are the kind of games you have to win if you do want to guarantee finishing in the top 10 of the Premier League.
Yeah, it could be an exciting game tonight, and we're not far away from kick-off. So we'll start to wrap things up, gentlemen, with getting some score predictions. Joe, what are you expecting to see tonight?
Expecting to see an open attacking game, especially seeing those lineups. I was going to sit on the fence and go for a draw, but I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. I think now seeing Saints' attacking lineup, I really like Walcott with Ings. I think that would be a really interesting partnership. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Southampton. I think they've got just enough to get over the line, but this will be a very, very tough test especially defensively. But yeah, I think Saints going to get it done tonight.
Do you expect to see a lot of goals in the fixture tonight, Dean?
I do, actually. I'm intrigued by this one because I think both teams will be looking forward to playing each other. I think they'll both see opportunities to attack and gaps. Like Joe mentioned, I think it could get drawn out a bit. I think the pitch could get particularly big at times, and that will help the attacking players on the pitch where they get more space. So I think we'll see opportunities and we will see goals. But I fancy Southampton, I do. And I agree with Joe. If Southampton can win tonight, it can springboard the season again. They're still in a fantastic position, played brilliant all season. But I'm going to go for a 3-2 to Southampton.
All right,
like the sound of that. Well, Dean, Joe, thank you so much for your company and insight as always. You can see both Southampton and Aston Villa warming up on the pitch behind us. Two teams who have been much improved this season. Both teams will be looking to bounce back from midweek Premier League defeats. And as always, we will have the live commentary from this one over on southamptonfc.com with Adam Blackmore and Dave Merrington. We'll also be back after the match for the final whistle with Dean and Joe. So make sure you join us for that one. Bye for now.